Hola. Hello. How are you, everybody? Welcome to this second interview that we have today in the Selenium Conference 2025, reporting from Valencia. We are so happy here. We were already talking about having some paella later today. Um, Little fact from Valencia. The special paella that you need to try here is made out of rabbit. If you didn't know that, now you know, and you should come and try it. But enough about food, otherwise I could be the whole day. We have another special guest, and today that we are going to be interviewing. I am Leandro, your amigo, also known as Señor Performo. But before we get to our guest, we have another co-host. Yeah, we are going to be switching them so that you don't get used to it. Welcome. How are you? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Leandro. Hello, I'm Ruben. I'm co-founder of Coevolution and also one of partner in crime of this podcast called in Spanish Más allá del back, which in English means beyond the back. I'm really happy to be here today.
I like when you go beyond the bug, it's more like beyond the bug. Gotta give it some dramatism. But so now we also have our victim, our friend Christian. Christian, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's we are so happy that you agreed to come and share with us a little bit about your experiences and everything that you're doing. How are you feeling today at the conference? How do you see things?
It's great. I mean, my first Selenium Conf was in 2014, which is 11 years ago. And it has been a great time. And every time I come, it's like meeting family, meeting classmates. And especially today, this morning, it's like, everyone talks about, different tools out there. And I feel like, and sometimes Selenium is seen as like the project that is slowing down and or dying, some people might say, and but here I see a completely different experience. Like the project is growing, the community is growing, people are excited, and that I'm very proud of that.
Oh my God, what do you mean? It is dying. It is like
Right.
sounds dun dun dun. No. We're going to talk a little bit on that, but before, for the people that do not know you, what do you do? What is your trajectory? What makes you special? Would you mind sharing with the audience a little bit about you?
Yeah, I'm Christian. I grew up on the countryside in Germany. I studied in Berlin, and over there, my professor told me that I have to test my software. And back in the days, we only had single-page applications, and it was really difficult for me to understand how can I test this type of application. So I came around a tool that was called WebdriverIO back in the days, and I used this to automate the browser. And I figured out, I can use that to test browsers and test my applications that I write. And since then, I contributed to it, and we are now 15 years later, and WebdriverIO has become, luckily, one project that a lot of people use and a lot of people find useful, and that's awesome. And there's a big community around it, and it allows me to go to these conferences and then enjoy and be part of that community, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. I'm happy to learn that you have been involved for so long. I mean, now back to one of the questions that I had when you were saying, how long ago was your first conference, Selenium conference?
Yeah, it must be 2014. I studied computer science in Berlin, and my master's thesis was about automating smart TVs. So I built an Appium driver that would allow us to automate smart TVs, especially the HBB TV standard, where you can open a menu on the broadcaster on the TV. And the people, the companies that would write these apps, all the browsers on the TV were like, every TV had a different browser on with a different engine. Some were even like less than IE5, and they used JavaScript that wouldn't work. And then you don't want to run around with a remote all day and test them manually. So I wrote an automation driver in Appium, and I was sitting in a TV lab with like 50 TVs around me, and I made them all be automated and test applications. So that was pretty incredible, and I was happy to share this at Selenium Conf as the end of my thesis, and that was it.
So, if I understand well, we have a master in automation, literally. That was your master's, right?
Yes, that was my master thesis for computer science.
An actual master. I mean, he has a certified document that proves it, and a German document which has more stamps and
It says a lot, right?
So, any questions? Do you want to start
No, at the moment, no. I'm
thinking
thinking. Yeah,
about
I'm
what?
thinking about some
I
questions.
have a
for
feeling
later.
you're gonna come up with one that will make Christian
Difficult
sweat a
one.
little bit. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So, was this first Selenium conference that you went to in Berlin? You say?
In Berlin, yes.
Uh, yeah, it has been several times, right? In
It
Berlin.
has been a couple of times in Berlin, yeah.
I'm sad that I missed some of those, but along all these experiences that you have had in the conferences, do you remember one that was outstanding, a talk, something that you were like, oh my God, now Selenium is getting this, or open source, or contributions?
So one talk I remember, which was before I went to Selenium Conf, was in I think it was called AlexJS in it was in Portugal, Lisbon. And I back in the days I was not working in automation. I was a student, and I already knew I already got my fields into the software development area, and I knew Sauce Labs, and I knew some people that worked there, like Jason Lips and other folks. And so I saw a talk from Jonathan Lips. He used Appium to automate the keyboard app on the mobile device, and he played on the guitar alongside the keyboard app that he was running on his machine. And he had like a little concert going with like 4 devices running and automating a music app on the device, and he playing along. I was like, this is still my favorite talk today. That was so incredible, and I think it's still online. One of my favorite talks in the world.
I'm gonna make sure to take a look, and that's also why I was asking. You just blew my mind. Like that sounds like, if not like super transcendental in like it changed the course of testing but sounds really entertaining and a big technical challenge. That
Oh
like,
yeah,
hey, how can you pull that off? It's
especially staying on time and
Yeah.
playing along. Incredible.
You're bringing up a very interesting because through automation of time often we got the situation when they offset, they go slower, but keep them synced. Oh my God, that's got to be a very interesting challenge that I can tell how that inspired you. You are one of the few people that I have met that studied to be a tester, right? You already
Um,
were.
Well, I studied computer science, and testing was always came alongside with it as kind of like I stayed a software engineer, but I contributed to WebdriverIO for my whole career. So I always knew the testing space and what people go through when they test the automation, when they test the application. Unfortunately, there were times in my career where it's like I'm not really using WebdriverIO that much, and it's always difficult when you maintain an automation tool and you're not able to actually use it a lot. I'm now in a better position. I'm building currently at OutSystems. I'm building a web component framework called Stencil.js, and I'm using WebdriverIO a lot to make sure that the framework builds the right components and that the components behave correctly, so that large organizations can build their design systems properly.
And I mean, before we get talking into what is, I want to talk about your tutorial yesterday and what you were doing, but that you decided to join this effort and started to work on this project, this open source project, right?
hmm
So how did that happen, and why did you decide to go in and start helping or contributing on this project?
Yeah, I was able to use it not only for my work in the university, but also when I started as an intern in my first company. We built an application where physicists could put in some symptoms of a patient, and the application would spit out the amount of drugs they would receive at the end. So imagine the application would calculate something wrong at the end of this whole survey. That would be a pretty problematic thing, right? So we use browser automation to test this app from end to end, and the project just followed me around, and I continued to use it, continued to contribute to it because I saw ways how I can improve it, and I needed some fixes in them. And so it stayed around with me, and when I experienced that it opens a lot of opportunities, I was like, this is, I think, my thing. And I learned a lot throughout my career building and working on the project. And something I can recommend to everyone out there is like, if you start in software engineering, no matter at what level, find an open source project that you can contribute to, because this just gives you so many new opportunities that helps you to grow as a engineer, as a whatever field you're working on, and gives you great opportunity to be like here on the conference.
I have a question. Taking into account all your experience in the contribution in open source projects and so on, how do you see the future of open source with artificial intelligence and this kind of new technologies? How do you see that?
I think the tooling landscape will definitely change a lot, given all these new technologies come around, especially around AI. There will be a lot more integration into LLMs and in AI in general, and I think we will try to solve problems in a little bit different way. How this will look like, everyone is currently trying to figure that out. When it comes to open source particularly, I hope that we will see some more companies contributing back to open source because they know how important that is for their business. I mean, we just saw Jonathan Lips mentioning today that they pay every contributor back because they have sponsoring. I do this as well with WebdriverIO. Everyone who contributes to WebdriverIO gets money back because we have sponsoring on the project, and I just hope that this will grow, because otherwise it will be difficult to keep a sustainable open source project alive.
Yeah, because it's true that there are still a lot of companies that has internally really good projects. They decide not to publish it publicly because they think that probably the competitors can take the code and start building something better, But I think that it's good that open to the community and the community starts building great things over that code, no?
Absolutely, and I've actually seen. I mean, I've maintaining this project for 15 years. You see also some economic changes over time, and I found that in times where economic growth is big, you see much more companies allowing people to contribute back to open source. In times where economy goes down and the wallets are tight, you see people, we cannot contribute to open source anymore. And it's interesting to see as a maintainer, because one of my jobs is just to find people be able to contribute and allowing to contribute to the projects. And I have conversations where it's like, I cannot do it anymore because of policy reasons. And it's interesting how this kind of like changes over time.
I think it's really interesting, and I have mixed feelings with the motivation at times for open source software, having like monetary compensation for the contributions. Absolutely, it's great. I've seen that many projects when it's just like, I love the project, I know how to code, I'm gonna help to you, and that's it. Most of the open source solutions, platforms, everything open source that we have seen, it's just by kindness and the people building the project being happy with it, and just like, hey, here, I have some code. But it adds up a little bit for the people that, I may be a full-time contributor, and that's what I'm doing, and helps me to bring the bacon home and all these things. It's very interesting that you get sponsorship, some companies help, and let's keep this baby growing together, right? It's a great feeling.
Yeah, and honestly, in an ideal world, I would love to have companies just giving engineering resources instead of money. I don't really need the money. It's just right now when people don't have enough time, this like additional like compensation can help to trigger someone to actually like give back and contribute back. This is just like one method of many you can do. But I'm with you. Like I'm happy if
Some balance, right?
if every euro that I receive in the month goes out to contributors, but I also would do it for free. I mean, I've done it for free for 15 years. The fact that I'm now getting sponsorship, the first idea I had is like, how do we find ways to just give it back to the community? Because it's not on me to keep all that money. Yeah.
It's it almost made me cry when you say 15 years. Oh my God! It's when you were saying the project that you're working on, and that it followed you. It's not like you decided to join the project. The project caught you, and you have been happily around it, right? But now, switching a little bit to learn more about here your participation in the conference and what were you doing. Uh, what was the title of your tutorial and what was it about? Can you spoil it a little bit?
I gave a workshop on WebdriverIO, my project, and I cannot exactly remember. I don't remember the title, but it was a workshop around WebdriverIO from the bottom to success, something like that. And we have a course where we have people start from a really simple automation script in JavaScript up to building a very large test suite with a lot of plugins, visual comparison, accessibility testing, component testing. Like WebDriver provides like a lot of features, and this workshops kind of like helps people to understand all the bits and pieces of it. And yeah, we had a lot of fun. It was a very long, extensive, long day, but I think everyone went out happy and they took something home. It was very exciting to see. I showed like a little AI example at the end where I created a command that allowed people to verify something on the page with a prompt. And people were excited about that. This kind of stuff is possible now.
Yeah, AI is always pulling attention, good or bad. But I'm curious. It was a full day workshop, right?
Yes, yes.
Out of the workshop, what would you say was the biggest learning for the people, or that you blew their minds and they were like, oh, other than the AI?
I think over time, over the day, I saw that people realized that there's some trickiness to it sometimes to set up. I mean, we had some people that had like a corporate computer where things was a little bit difficult to set up and install, and I think over time they realized, okay, if I just put a little bit time figuring out this problem, then I get to the next problem and get to the next problem. But then this is where how I can achieve something and build something that works out at the end. So it was a lot about like running into problems and finding ways to solve them, and that process repeating and learning how to work with that.
Yeah, I have one question. Did you do this workshop previously in another conference, or is the first time?
I did this workshop a couple of times before. Yeah, it's just very. I mean, I update it every year based on the new features that the project comes with. But it's good, and we take all the learnings from every workshop and put it back into the materials again, so that we can optimize and really bring a valuable piece of content to the people.
What if how to put this? I got a little brain fart. Would you like to describe a little bit what are the details if someone would be interested in taking or pick the interest, sell the workshop? What is
Sure.
the cool thing about it?
So you all can find the workshop on github.com/webdriverIO/workshop. And it has a separation to, I think, 13 chapters, starting with very easy, like write an automation script to fill out a to-do application. And then you move that automation script into a test runner, and then you build a custom service or like a custom plugin, a custom reporter for the test runner. You will get experience in how to use reporters that the WebDriver ecosystem already using. You will learn about visual regression testing in WebDriver that's all built in. You will learn about component testing with WebDriver, performance testing. We have that in there as well. And now we have an AI section as well at the end. So there's I think every kind of testing topic is in there, and it covers everything that the company may need to test a small to like a large enterprise application.
Okay, so if you are not, your interest is not picked yet, I don't know what's wrong with you, but this is really interesting, and it sounds like you're bringing several solutions to common situations and blunders that organizations and team may walk into. But you as well were mentioning that generally you update this workshop with changes and new things that you have on the WebdriverIO. What are the latest news? What are the new things that have changed that were brought up that you were like, yeah, I need to add this aside of AI?
Well, there's no AI in WebdriverIO yet, which has its reason. We released version 9, I can say recently, where we doubled down on our WebDriver BiDi adoption. We allow things now like introspect or auto piercing web components So if you're using web components in the application, you don't have to worry about any shadow DOMs. WebDriver can just figure out where the element is located. We have certain emulation commands that are new. You can do things like opening a website with certain headers or authentications. So certain authentication workflows may be easier now. We allow you to inject scripts before your application loads, which allows you to kind of like set up the stage for your application, setting like a local storage value or things like that. We have also a lot of development outside of the core. We have one of the core contributors does an amazing job enhancing our visual testing capabilities. So we do visual testing for not only browsers but also for mobile. And if you've worked on mobile tests, you know that it's really difficult to scroll through the whole view to take a screenshot, and WebDriver does this out of the box. So there's some great work done there. We also have some people working on the Electron plugin, which allows you to test Electron application. That has been adopted by companies like Slack. They are relying on WebDriver to test the Slack application. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and yeah, it's cool to see people coming from the outside having a need and finding the ability to solve their problems in the project, and at the same time giving it back to other people that might need the same.
That's really cool. Lots of interesting updates. I am particularly interested in BiDi. What what breaks with it? What new abilities are you gonna have? And what's your perspective on it? Because kind of it's like the new kid on the block right now, right? That everybody's talking.
Well, I was on I'm part of the WCC working group that sits with the group of browser vendors that sits together to discuss how BiDi will look like. And I was part of the discussion in Lyon in 2018, I think, when we started to look into what BiDi could be. And it's interesting to follow the development. I'm very excited to have the browser vendors now ship all these primitives to the actual browsers. And so I saw a lot of different takes, how people implement. I guess I follow how Selenium is starting to do it. I copied a lot of what Selenium is doing and used it in WebDriver as well. In WebDriver, with version 9, we started to opt in everyone into BiDi. So we just send the WebSocket flag with the session request, and then we see whether or not the endpoint, like the browser, supports it or not. And if it supports it, then WebdriverIO will run the commands with BiDi. So the user at the end of the day really didn't see any difference. They just ran a command, and under the hood, WebDriver figures out if it should run in BiDi or it should run in WebDriver Classic. I think moving on, we'll change some interfaces in WebdriverIO to allow to adapt to the fact of that WebDriver BiDi now has, allows you to choose different contexts. So you can run multiple commands at the same time in different tabs. And so that allows some neat features that we want to make use of. And we likely will change some interfaces in WebDriver to accommodate that. I can give you an example, for instance.
Yes.
So in WebDriver Classic, we have, you only can interact on the active window that is open, right? You cannot do two actions at the same time in two different tabs, right? So WebDriver Classic runs on the current active window. Now in BiDi, we have the context ID and browsing contexts available, which allows us now to kind of like allow users to do different actions in different tabs. WebdriverIO has now to monitor which tab is open and what is going on. So there's a lot of more going on that WebdriverIO has to take care of, but also users can do much more. We're thinking about like running parallel tests in the same browsers, which appears to be possible. There's a talk today or tomorrow by Pooja about that. So we will see how we can, have some performance improvements on that side and allow users to do more with less resources on the computer.
I'm gonna do a kind of evil question. Is there a limit to the number of tabs that we can?
Tabs, I don't know. Windows, no. So I ran a test where I was opening 100 windows and run 100 commands at the same time in parallel. And it worked. And I was like, okay, I should think about how I should change the interface of WebdriverIO to make it more possible. So
I'm thinking on what you mentioned. If you introduce those tests in a CDCI pipeline, maybe
Yes.
something happens and something crashes,
Well, we will find out. And that's a good thing of like having a day job where I can, where I have the need to use WebdriverIO and building this feature into WebdriverIO. I just got tasked in my company to to update the WebdriverIO version that they use for the component testing that they do, and my approach was first to scale out the parallel sessions in Azure and run different Azure jobs at the same time. That's great, but it's kind of like it requires some work to get all the logs together and compute them.
Sync everything, yeah.
Yeah. So if I can just run one Azure job and then just one browser, I can even more parallelize certain things.
Wow, that's and also why I was doing kind of like the evil question, because performance-wise, usually I'm wondering what type of machine or instance you were running to 100 browser windows. You need kind of a decent amount of horsepower, right?
Well, I think when you run one browsers and just have 100 windows open, it's less a burden on the computer than having hundreds different of browser instances running. It's always the browser instance. The window itself doesn't take much CPU or RAM, but
Extra window, you're
just
right.
the browser instance itself is, I think, what's compute consuming.
Just a matter of different perspective. That's
right.
Fixing solutions, not throwing more resources, more hardware, but just getting on a better perspective on how to do things. But Christian, we're now getting to the ramp down part of this episode, this interview, where first I want to know a little bit what's coming up for you. Are you planning future conferences, other events, or where might you repeat your workshop soon, in the not so soon?
Well,
Any plans?
I have no plans. I have my things to do. There's a lot of work in the open source area, so there's always things to do. I don't have plans to attend any conferences side of an AI conference in San Francisco, but other than that, I haven't made any plans this year yet.
When is this conference in San Francisco that you're going to be?
It's the one from the Langchain conference. It's in May, I think.
Okay. Stay tuned, San Francisco. Christian is going to be there. Presenting or giving the tutorial? Or just crashing the conference?
Just crashing the conference.
Okay. If you find him, come and say hi. And speaking of saying hi and catching up with you, where can people follow up with you, get in touch, connect, or whatever? Like, subscribe, or I don't know what.
I think I have all my socials on my website called bromann.dev, DEV. And you can find my LinkedIn profile, my Blue Sky, whatever you want. And or you join the WebdriverIO project and find us on Discord. That's also possible.
Could you give us some information where to join the WebDriver project, how to get on Discord? Is there a page?
Yeah, the easiest is going on WebdriverIO, and there's a little Discord icon on the top. Or, yeah, that's the easiest.
I'm sure a lot of information on the website. Go and check it out, WebdriverIO. Take a look. And now, for the glorious end. So, I am from Mexico. And I like to bring some experiences to the interviewees so that they get literally a taste of Mexico. So
Okay.
I have for you, I don't know if you know what, you're from Germany. What candies do children get usually in Germany?
Chocolate.
Chocolate, Milka.
Mhm.
Which one you like?
Milk chocolate.
Milk chocolate. Okay. Well, I have something that is not precisely milk chocolate. I don't know if you're used to Mexican candies. So I'm going to give you an option. We have two different ones. This is mostly sugar, and this is tamarind. You're going to try it on camera, and we're going to see your expression.
I take the tamarind one.
Okay. So I'm going to hold the mic for you so that you can open it. Give it a try. And so that the whole world can look at what
Your face.
Mexico tastes like. So you gotta chew this one. So get ready for a close-up on Christian's face and see what does he thinks.
Interesting. My girlfriend comes from Mexico, and
Oh, you're familiar with those?
she could have warned me. I don't know what those are.
Okay,
Okay,
we'll
let's see.
see. Pay attention to his expression. What is he thinking? He's okay, already making face.
I take the second one if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah. Okay, he loves it. Yay.
That's great.
Okay.
I like it.
Challenge passed with flowers. Everything went great. Do you like it?
Mhm.
Can you describe the audience? How does it taste, or what do you think of it?
I know the taste of tamarind because they put it on fruits,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that's where I know it, and that's the taste like.
Pretty much tamarind.
Mhm.
Okay, so he passed the test. He did great, and he's not dying. So I'm fairly surprised. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Christian.
Thank you all.
Really appreciate this, and thank you for giving it a try. You were super brave right away, straight to it. So kudos. And well, there you have it. That was our friend Christian Bromann. Check it out, WebdriverIO. Subscribe, get on the Discord channel, get in touch, figure out if you want to use it. Those 100 extra windows, I'm very curious about it.
Yeah.
I want to see how far can you push those tabs. So let's see what happens on that.
We're gonna see each other next year when I tell you all about how this worked out.
Yeah, I want to find out how all these experiments happened, and of course I hope that we will see each other next year, and hopefully before that, not wait until next year. So let's see what happens. So there you have it. These are the streams that streamed interviews in English that we had prepared for now. We may have a surprise for you later today. Let's see if we can pull it off. Otherwise, we have some more stuff coming up in Spanish later today. Might be live, might be streamed later. Who knows? Surprises. For the rest of the day, we're going to have surprises, and that's it. Now, for now, we are going to call it not a day, but this stream, this interview with Christian is going to be off. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Stay tuned. Again, we're going to have some surprises. Let's see what happens. Tomorrow, we're going to have Angie Jones and Marit, I hope I'm pronouncing well her name, interviewed, and more adventures, more surprises, and more things. So stay tuned. This is not over yet. This is Selenium Conference 2025 from Valencia. We'll see you soon. Adios. Or how you say?
Adios.
Tschüss.